Hello and welcome to the Grumpy Surfer podcast. I'm your host, Ads Lyson. In this episode today, I have Stu Poynter. Stu is a senior account manager at Tiki International. Tiki is one of the oldest surfing brands in the United Kingdom and it dates back to being established in the early 1960s. In this episode, me and Stu talk about surfing travel, a little bit about surfboard design and also artificial waves. I hope you enjoy the podcast. Stu Poynter, welcome to the Grumpy Surfer podcast. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, mate. I'm good. Thanks for having me. It's been an interesting evening so far.
Well, it's just been me flashing at the computer. For those of you listening, I have a computer that's nearly 10 years old and it has gerbils running in a wheel to power it, and it's really annoying.
I'm surprised you made it this far, to be honest.
Yeah, it's going to smash it soon. Right, so
you're good?
Yeah, mate. Let's talk about surfing.
Hooray!
Let's talk about surfing. That's the reason why I started this podcast. When did you start surfing and why?
Okay, so my story into finding surfing was basically thanks to my mum and dad. I grew up in Plymouth, born in Plymouth, and there's surf around Plymouth, but it's not the best place. But we used to go holidaying on the north coast at Polzeth. And when I was younger, Anne's Cottage. I don't know if anyone that's familiar with Polzeth now. Anne's Cottage is a big old shop, but back then it was a little petrol station, little flat roof petrol station. And my mum and dad knew the owners, so we used to get free hire boards, and that's kind of where I started surfing, which was great memories, nice, and that stayed with me all the way through.
It's a nice little break, Polzeth too.
It was good then. It's probably, it wouldn't be my choice of waves to go to now, but it's, a brilliant place. Really good. But yeah, living at Croyd now, you get a bit spoilt with the waves and Lynmouth and places around here. So yeah, it's, but it was a great place to learn to surf. A really great place growing up, going on holidays. So yeah, that's where I started surfing. And then carried on through, we grew up in Plymouth, and then we had the South Coast spots like Whitsands and Wembury and Shallabur and all the other spots down there. So I had a great childhood, and that's where I started surfing.
Did you do what I did and you got into it and then decided you're going to buy what the pros used to ride back in the 90s and buy like a 6-foot board that was like 18 wide and like and maybe an inch thick? And
No, I didn't do that. No, I'm a little bit older than you. So the boards back then, I had, I think my first board was a Fulmar, a horrendous spray job. I bought it from Board Shop, which was down on the Barbican in Plymouth. I ended up working there actually, just from being a annoying grom that would hang around at the shop at the weekends, and ended up getting a job. But that's where I got my first board, and I can't remember how big it was. It's probably, I'm guessing it would have been around the 6'5" something mark. Big, fat, wide thing, old school. Like a vintage board. You see the vintage boards come up on the market now. They occasionally come up. So it was one of those. But I was so proud of it, and I paid for it out of my own money. I think mum and dad gave me a bit of money towards it, and it was Do you know what? I regret ever selling that. I wish I've seen it once. I saw it once. Actually, it was at Polzeth. Someone had it at Polzeth, and I should have gone up and tried to buy it off them there and then, but one of those things I should have held on to. But yeah, it was a Fulmar board, great board.
I have no idea what I did to the first one I had. I probably smashed the crap out of it because I couldn't ride it because it was so fucking. It was such a stupid thing to do. Like, do you know what I mean? I mean, I didn't know any better then, though.
There was a period of time when everybody had the really narrow, like Taj Burrow toothpicks. Like totally. Really not very good for this country's waves at all. But no, I always had relatively wide boards. I'm a bigger guy, so my boards have always been a little bit bigger.
We all know volume's your friend anyway.
Volume's everybody's friend.
Well, it is now. Volume and speed of paddling, wave count. That's where it's
exactly. That's what it's all about, though. All about wave count.
So, growing up in Plymouth, how did you continue with your surfing journey?
Well, it's hard. It's hard when before driving license and vehicles, it was quite hard because you're dependent on, I guess, like all kids growing up surfing, unless you live by the beach, you're dependent on lifts from people you know are older than you, and then there's the problem of your parents letting you go with people that are, you know, driving and older than you, and they don't really know. So, you know, we had buses and trains, and when I was growing up at school, we used to, I mean, obviously I'm not condoning this, but we used to go in, take our surfboards into school, hide them in the hedge outside the secondary school. There's a school in Plimpton called Ridgeway Comprehensive. And we'd go in and get first register, and then we'd jump on the bus to Wembury. So that was kind of like how we carried it on then. There's a few older guys that would give us a lift and take us out to the coast, just with annoying groms. But we'd get the train down to Newquay as well, which is always quite good fun. So yeah, there was ways and methods to get to the beach when you don't live right next to the beach. But of course, once we passed our tests and we had a bit more freedom, that then opened up the whole of the West Country to us. So we were living in Plymouth. We would go and surf. We had the luxury really then of surfing all the spots, you know, whether it's South Coast, North Coast, wherever it would be. Now I live near the beach, and I think the downside of living near a beach is that you don't actually go and surf lots of other spots. Whereas then we'd go all over the place: Newquay, Penzance, Pennell, you know, like everywhere. So yeah, it was a real adventure.
I think when you do live by the sea, you do get what I would call, you know, you become a surf snob. I know I am a little.
I think you do a bit. I mean, I live here. I'm in Braunton. We live in a beautiful part of the country, and Croyd is my local. Well, actually, strictly speaking, Saunton would be my closest beach. But Croyd would be the beach that I would choose to surf at most. And we have great waves on the other side of the headland at Woolacombe. And other waves really good on the other side of the estuary, which are worth travelling to. But we can't speak of those.
Secret spots.
we must not speak of those places. But you just go to the easiest place, don't you? You drive to Wiz. But when you live somewhere like Plymouth and you're kind of in, or anyone that's not near the beach, you choose where's best to go at that time. So wherever the charts are looking good, you head to that beach, which was great when we were growing up, because we had that diversity of surf spots.
Yeah.
Rather than just surfing the same spot, and if it wasn't very good there, we'd just go and travel somewhere else. So yeah, it was good. It was good times.
Yeah, before I was married, I was based in Plymouth for about 5 years, and which is where I am now. And I remember I used to finish work like as early as possible, and then regardless of what time it was, I'd be bombing down to the coast, whether it's down to Newquay or Widmouth or Bantham or what, even if it was like super, like it was today, super onshore, and you knew it was going to be shit, but you still went anyway.
You still got that stoke, don't you? Because you're not there, you're not living by the beach. Like now, I see you're right about the surf snobbery. I'll look at the cams, or I'll pop down the beach and I sit there and I talk myself out of it, because I'm like, I'll be better tomorrow, I'll be better the next day, or whereas if you drive in and make an effort to drive an hour or wherever to get to a beach, you just go in regardless.
Do you not think that's down to your ability as well? So if you're like a competent surfer, it's difficult to gauge people's levels. I mean, you should know this more than me. Where you're like, some people say, yeah, I surf, and but their level of they could say, yeah, I can do this, I've got this board, but then they go in the water, they come and fucking paddle out. So my point being, I'm ranting on a little bit here.
You're really sounding like a grumpy surfer now.
Yeah, definitely not had 3 rums either. I don't really know what my point
I tell you what I think is, to your point, I don't know if this is what your point was aiming at, but I think it's not ability based. I think for me now, if I go down the beach and it is whatever the conditions, equipment is really important. So for me, it's not enough to just have a one board in the back of your car. So I have a selection of boards, and every single board does something different for every condition. What I don't want to do is drive down the beach, and I know it's only 4 miles away, but I don't want to drive down the beach and then come back again without getting wet. So for me, it's really important to have something in the car that is going to facilitate me going in the water, regardless of whether it's a hand plane, a mid-length, a longboard, a fish, a twin fin, whatever it may be. I've got a van, so I can keep most of my stuff in my van all the time. But I don't want to drive down the beach and then be like, oh. So it's quite easy to talk yourself out of going in for a surf, but all those times you talk yourself going in for a surf are kind of take away from your ability when you do actually go in for a surf, if that makes sense. You want to just keep that kind of paddle, just going for a paddle. We went in for a surf tonight.
Yeah.
It was bad, wasn't it? Really
bad.
Yeah,
really onshore. There was a couple of little wedges coming through.
But that's the thing. You always go in. If you get one good wave, it's worth going in.
Yeah.
But it's easy to talk yourself out of going in the car park.
Yeah, I got a foamy vertical. Well, it probably wasn't even vertical. It was my imagination. I think I'm fucking Harry Potter or something like that. Yeah, when I talk about surf snobbery, and I mean, I live in Exmouth, so
you do.
Yeah, east. I do live there.
Great waves there. Not so much.
It's about once a year, but I live about an hour and 10 away from any breaks, whether it's the South Coast or...
What would be your closest break then? From Exmouth?
Well, a decent break.
Selston?
No, so I would say Bantham would
Okay.
be the most decent break. It's about 50 minutes drive.
Okay.
Here at Croydon's probably, or Saunton's about an hour and 10, an hour and 20, depending on the traffic. You can surf Sidmouth, those East Devon, like South Coasties, but they're real fickle. And they would probably take about 40 minutes to drive to anyway, so I might as well drive to Bantham if it's any good.
Yeah, I mean, for the extra 20 minutes, you can go and surf some waves on the North Coast, which makes sense.
Exactly. So when I talk about being a surf snob, I look at the forecast and, I would say I'm a competent surfer. I wouldn't say I'm like anywhere near advanced or late intermediate standard or anything like that. I hold my own a little bit. But when I look at a forecast and I see that it's going to be decent, I'll hold out for those days, as opposed to what we went in today. Some people will drive hours to get to do something like that. Yeah,
true.
And that's where I'm talking about that.
But you've also got family and kids to consider, and that all kind of plays a bit of a role in that, doesn't it? In that decision making process, which for me is really important. Being here, so close to the beach, I can shoot down without having to think shit. It's going to be 2 hours before you even got in the water. That's just travel time.
Yeah, I mean, if I drove down to the beach and the forecast, magic lieweed, that we call it magic lieweed for a reason. If I get down here and I haven't read the forecast correctly, even when I look at all the charts and stuff, and it's not what I think it is, I generally drive down like at 5 o'clock in the morning so I can get back at a decent time to have a day with the family and stuff.
But that's where equipment comes in, is really important, because you can come up here and on an iffy forecast. Well, not here. You can go any coastal, any beach, and on an iffy forecast. And if you've got the right equipment, you will always get in, even if it is a hand plane, or if you want to go and just splash, catch a few. You can always get in the sea if you got the right equipment.
But then if you've got too many boards,
that is a problem as well.
Like I've got a 10 angle up in my garage, and I always bring the wrong stuff.
That is a real problem.
Yeah, I
mean, look, I work in the surf industry, so I'm in a privileged situation that I have access to lots of equipment and lots of different types of equipment, and that can be a curse as much as as anything. But it is quite nice to be able to go in and surf on different stuff and in different conditions, and actually having that extra equipment and those boards makes you go in and you want to go and surf on a mid-length when it's 3 foot on onshore, or a twin fin if it's a couple of foot, or whatever.
I've got really back into my twin fins again recently.
Yeah, I've always been into them, to be honest. There's kind of always been a bit of a constant through my surfing life.
I've always liked retro equipment. I don't know whether it's just because when I was younger I used to watch like the really old Sunsets of Sun and the Green Iguanas, the old hockey films, and even back to the old 70s films like Morning of the Earth and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I even got a Morning of the Earth board shaped. Yeah, it didn't go too well. Single fin pintowels don't go well on beaches. I just gathered
They
that.
definitely don't.
They're
a strong point board, but not a very good beachy board.
Yeah, well, it wasn't the best purchase I ever did, but I had it nonetheless.
It's a wall hanger.
Yeah, well, no, it wasn't. I sold it pretty quick. I had a bare single fin as well.
Nice. So you had some classics then.
I did, but that thing used to slide out like anything.
Yeah, look, I tell you, all that stuff. The pros make them look amazing when they surf them, but they're not. In reality, they're not the easiest boards to surf.
Well, not in British waves.
Definitely not in British waves.
Yeah, we're a little bit short on point breaks unless you go like to Scotland or Ireland. Or
I don't
like
know. I don't know. There's a fair few decent point breaks around.
Yeah, but you have to know about them and go and look for them too, right?
I don't know. I think nowadays, there is there's a lot more knowledge on the breaks around with Google Maps and social media, and everybody likes to post a session online, don't they? After they've had a good session and they've come down. I think now it's there isn't many places left that are truly secret, would be my take on it, especially for North Devon anyway.
Yeah, I mean, surfing's become one of those most explosive sports, whether people want to recognise it as a sport or a pastime. I mean, it's completely up to you. Some people see it as a soulful thing. Yeah, okay, if you want to see it that way.
I think it's great. Surfing is an amazing sport. I fell in love with it many, many years ago when I was probably about 12. That was a long time ago now, but it was, and I fell in love with it for all the same reasons that people are still falling in love with it. For me, it's not just the surfing either. It's the whole package of the car park and you see all your mates in the car park, and it's just a real sociable sport. I could literally spend the whole day down the beach and surf for 2 or 3 hours and spend the rest of the time just hanging out and chatting and laughing, and so that the whole thing is for me is what makes it special. Yeah,
the social aspect's good, but if you can also be a loner with it too. You can go off on. I mean, I used to go travelling on my own for a good few years. All I took was a board a day.
I only go surfing on my own. I mean, I very rarely I'll go with more than 2 people. But I mean, as in, like, if you go down the beach and
the culture,
your local car park, and you turn up, everyone's like, running in and running out, and that's a big attraction as well. Yeah,
I think if you live in a community like that, like you do here, you are super lucky. In a way, I do kind of envy it a little bit. It's really difficult. I mean,
you're like an honorary local, though.
I wouldn't go that far.
I don't know. You pretty much are.
Yeah, they see me rock up and they go, "Oh, fucking hell, is that wanker again?" But it's difficult. I love where I live. I do live by the sea anyway, so I can get into the sea, whether it's paddleboarding, swimming, or just taking the kids to walk on the beach and stuff. That is a luxury that I'm never gonna look down upon and say, I've got family that live in the Midlands, and they would, they'd sell their left foot to come down and do something like that. But for doing what we do, and for me, it is a passion. I've realised this over the lockdown period, is that the first things I started looking at, because we've got this, I'm not going to go on a rant about social media, but we do have social media, is I started looking at old surf films again, and I was looking at boards, and we were talking about this earlier about shapes and what fins do on different boards, and I was getting really back into it, and I was like, I can't wait till I get back in the water again, and I can do this and I can do that. And you're watching surfing films and you're getting really motivated to do it. And I never really find that with anything else. I really get pumped on it as well.
I'm exactly the same though. That's totally me as well. I don't get as excited. I don't. There's nothing else in my life that would get me up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go and do it.
Apart from kids.
Oh yeah, that. Yeah, but my kids are older now, so that's fine.
Yeah.
Talking about lockdown and getting you stoked on surfing, what I've struggled with in lockdown, and although actually through lockdown there was a fair bit of surf, and we're in a fortunate position to be able to be close enough to the beach I surfed through lockdown. But I was, we were cycling to the beach and all the stuff we were allowed to do. So it's great actually, being down at Croydon surfing with 2 people out was a real luxury for me. But I got hooked on the WSL True Surf game.
Ah, yeah. What level are you on?
Well, I'm only level 13.
Oh,
but
15.
I can pop some airs.
Pop some airs. I don't get that.
Which is more than I can do in my actual surfing.
Yeah, fair one. That's a good game, right? You do.
Mate, honestly, I have been. What it's given me now as well, and I know travelling is still not possible to certain areas. And I mean, look, right now, as we speak, I should be in the Mentawais. This obviously all got cancelled. So playing that game is driving me insane with the lack of surf we've got at the moment. So that kind of kept me going.
The question is, have you spent any money on it yet?
Well, do you know what I did?
What did you do?
I subscribed to get unlimited storms.
Really? You're going to have to show me how to do that, I think.
Have you not done this? You must have the storms when the surf, you improve
well,
the surf.
I've just been, pretty reluctant with any of that purchasing stuff. And
it's $275 a month.
Oh, mate, I've just been grizzing it out.
You are really the grumpy surfer.
I stay
You're the grumpy, tight-ass surfer.
I stay at Skeleton Bay and I just get loads of barrels.
Mate, you got to storm it. Have you stormed Skeleton Bay?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, okay, right, there you go.
But then once all my storms are gone, I just grizz it out.
You can't surf properly unless it's stormed.
Yeah, it is true. I think that's quite false, that game, though.
Really?
Yeah, because...
I really enjoy it. But, I mean, yeah, it's a game, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good fun, right?
It is good fun, yeah. It kept me going through lockdown. And my son, annoyingly, is better than me on it, and he can't even surf.
Yeah.
He's only 11, but...
You don't have to know how to surf on that, though. You just have to have fat fingers.
Do you know what you need to do? It's the only place that you can do off the lip in the barrel.
It is true. Or go upside down.
Exactly.
Do you know what? You just reminded me of something. So I remember I bought. I went to Florida on holiday. I was lucky enough to go on holiday with my family, and we were in.
You say that like it's like it's a real luxury.
It was. We went to the Florida Keys, and I went into a shop and they had a few surfing magazines in there, and they had this. I think it was a big like an album. Like it must have been like the end of season magazine or something. It was massive. It was like A5 or something.
Yeah.
A5. A5.
Oh, okay, I've got it. I've got the same copy.
Or A3. And in the back of it, it used to tell you how to perform certain manoeuvres. And one of the manoeuvres in it was to catch a barrel, but use the wave to go inside, over the lip and back down again. Do you know?
As in taking off.
As in inside the barrel.
Yeah.
You then use the wave then inside the barrel to come. I'm trying to explain.
I can do that quite well.
Round and come back down with the lip inside the barrel and land, and then come out of the barrel.
Okay, again. I've done that, but I've never come out.
Yeah.
Or landed it.
I've seen at Chopu a few people attempt it, but then get absolutely nuked.
Right. Yes. That's standard.
But I remember seeing those sort of things in those magazines, and it was I always wanted to do it. I've never ever seen it been done though.
Yeah, see, when I was growing up and I started surfing, that was our thing. Me and a couple of mates that I surf with. If we went surfing, we were reading surfing magazines or we were watching religiously the old school movies, surf movies, Mad Wax and all the ones that you mentioned earlier, on repeat over and over and over again. And then we grew up in, like I said, I grew up in Plymouth. So, we had Sam Lamoureux and all the Newcastle boys went to university in Plymouth. Because actually when it wasn't kind of during that era, the surf science degree started. that Doc Finley started. So obviously Plymouth became a real hub and real popular for surfers coming down. They used to just go to Swansea and places like that. But
there's a massive surfing club down there now, isn't there?
I mean, Plymouth changed a lot from when I was growing up there. When I was growing up there, it wasn't anything like the place it is now. And actually, when I started surfing in Plymouth, there was surfers around, and there was a surf shop, and it was all relatively low key. But then the surf science degree came in, and that became really popular. And then the what is now the university used to be it wasn't a university then, it was just a college, I think, but it was very small, so it kind of exploded. The whole scene exploded, and it was just, it became super busy, and everyone, there's lots of students down there. So it was I can't even remember what my point was. It was busy time kind of growing up down there after that happened. But we used to just immerse ourselves in all these movies and watch this, and then we had guys like Sam and all those boys come down, and surfing with people that are a fair few levels higher than you at surfing. It was always good for our surfing because you'd always surf to that level, which really, it was good. It was good growing up around those guys because they used to rip. I mean, they surf bantam, and it was really good for our surfing growing up with them and kind of like trying to surf to their level.
Yeah, I mean, you get inspired by people that are better than you, don't you? So, if you're surfing with guys that are like pretty much pro, you're going to see how they do that, and you're going to try and emulate it.
Yeah, I think you do. I think just naturally you try and surf better, don't you? You like, someone does a move and then you turn, and you're like, everyone's just kind of pushing each other on. So it's, for me, when I was growing up, anyway, that was really important to have all those guys around me and surf with those guys regularly, and not just those, but lots of others, and underground surfers that surf well, and you just end up pushing each other to better things.
I think only as I've got older, I never really looked at like the technical side of it, really. And it's only as I've got older, maybe the last sort of like 5 to 10 years, I've really sort of like noticed that actually there is a kind of technique to this. It sounds really weird, but and I've looked into it a little bit more, and I've done like, it's only me doing my own research really into all that sort of thing, and by doing that, it has made me a little bit better. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still do a stupid poo stance. Sometimes when I take off, I bend my knees right down like Jeff Hackman used to do, and people could say that's a style, but I hate being videoed, and it's like,
I don't think it's anybody that likes watching themselves surf unless you're John Florence or someone that absolutely rips. Yeah. It's always a bit of an eye opener when you, in your head, and it's so true, in your head you think you surf better than you do. I mean, until you see yourself surf and you're like, oh my God. We went. I went on a trip to Portugal last year, around about March time last year, and I was lucky enough to score coxos in Ericeira when it was like, good solid 5 foot, and one of the guys was videoing it, and I was doing turns. It's on my backhand, so I'm goofy. And I was doing these turns, and I was thinking, that's going to be a nice little snapback and stuff. Hope he's got it. And then when I watched it back, what did it look like? It looked like your dad going for a walk in the park. That's what it looked like. And I was like, no! Devastating. Never watch yourself surfing. It's probably one of my biggest surfing tips. But it's also one of the only ways that you're only ever going to get better as well. Video analysis. I know, it's really important. I mean, yeah, it is really important. Lots of the Groms and stuff around here. There's a really good chap, Damo, owns one of the local surf schools, and he has a like a training module called Surf Development, and all the grommets benefit from the video coaching. I mean, it's a hard job for him because he stands on the beach in the rain and the wind and in all conditions, but they go back and they analyse what they're doing, and we've got some great young kids around here now, really, really good surfers.
I mean, you go down to the beach sometimes when it's good, and they just absolutely rip.
Yeah, it makes me feel really old.
Well, especially when you just sat there in the lineup, and then all of a sudden this little 12, 15-year-old kid is boosting a massive air, and you think, oh, I wish I could do that.
I know. They're all
a hernia.
It'll give me a bad back, definitely. Yeah. No, it's good. It's great to see the local talent, not just here but across the country. And surfing, like we said earlier, is really exploded and boomed. And I'm in an industry. I work in an industry that I absolutely love.
Let's talk about that a little bit. So
yeah.
When did you start working for Tiki? So it's Tiki International is the name, but you work for.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. I mean, look. I started my surf career. I mean, I always knew that I fell in love with surfing when I first jumped on that Swelly in Polseth, and then growing up in Plymouth, I started hanging out in the local surf shop down in the Barbican, which was Boardwalk at the time, run by Andy and Jane, who ended up running Hawaiian Island Creations in Newquay. Okay. They moved down there, and Tunnel Vision turned into Tunnel Vision. Lovely couple, really nice. And then started working for those guys, Saturday job. Then went to work for Solar Wetsuits. I don't know if you remember Solar Wetsuits.
I do.
Day glow, full on like the old school suits. So did some work for Solar Wetsuits for a period of time. And then just obviously schooling and bits and pieces. I travelled fairly extensively between the ages of 20 and 30. Or say fairly extensively. I'd spend 8 months a year in Australia and Indonesia. And then 4 months back here earning enough money to go back to do the next 8 months. So I did that every year between ages 20 and 30. Then I got a 1 year working visa for Australia, which at that time was as late as you could. That was kind of like the age limit for having a 1 year work permit. So I did that, moved on to New Zealand, used up my work permit for New Zealand as well, and then came home. And my mum and my older brother, who lives in Western Australia, they both said to me, "Oh, you need to, you're 32. What are you going to do? What are you doing with yourself? You got nothing." So anyway, I ended up getting a job with Rip Curl. I worked for Rip Curl for 5 years as a sales rep, a technical rep, which was selling boards, wetsuits, watches, footwear, eyewear. That was really good. And then I got a job with Salt Rock, which moved me to North Devon. And then decided that selling clothes wasn't really for me, and then got a job with Tiki, which I've been with Tiki now for 11 years. So yeah, so
we must have met. So we've known each other since 2010, 2011. So you must have just started working. When did you start? What year did you start working?
2009.
Yeah, so it must have been like the year or 2 years after.
Yeah.
That's mental.
Yeah. I mean, look, it is.
That's crazy, isn't it?
It's crazy.
If you think about it.
It is. Yeah, no, it's, we've been mates a long time, but it's, I always knew, like, for me, I mean, look, I always knew I wanted to be in the surf industry. For me, selling hardware is kind of where it's at. I love the technical element of all the wetsuits and it's something that I do and I use, and there's something for me much more rich in selling surfboards and wetsuits and speaking to people about that than there is selling clothes, and so that was my kind of transition into. I've always worked in the surf industry. I've never worked in. I mean, I've done other jobs. I was a baggage handler at Heathrow. I've picked daffodils in Cornwall. I've laid reticulation in lawns in Western Australia, and I've done all kinds of like other bits and pieces. But I think for surfing has always been the kind of mainstay in my job choices. So it's been great, and I love it, and I'm very lucky to have a job that in an industry that I love and in a sport that that's also my hobby and everything. So yeah, it's a good place, good times.
I'm not going to put you on the spot with it all, but what I'd say is that I think also is Tiki has been around since
50s? No, 60s.
Yeah, so I think on the title, you should know this. Again, not putting you on the spot. I think it's been around since like 1969 officially.
Yeah, a little bit earlier than that actually.
Yeah,
they started making blanks. So they were one of the first companies to start blowing blanks, and actually they started in South Wales.
Okay.
Yeah. So they started in South Wales. They were blowing blanks, and then they moved to Tim Hayland and Dave Aldrich Smith. Both, surfers. They grew up. Tim was traveling around Hawaii and doing was on the was both really good surfers of their day.
Trying to get one of them on the podcast as well. Hopefully.
Tim would be a really, really good person. I mean, you're called the Grumpy Surfer. You wait till you speak to Tim.
You know what?
But he has some brilliant stories.
Yeah, I did. Really I did speak to him on the phone, and he was quite keen. But we'll get him on.
He'll definitely be a good person. He's got some amazing stories, and obviously they've done loads and travelled a lot, and they'll be great people to speak to. But yeah, they started up the business, moved down here, started making wetsuits here in the factory. In fact, we're still in the same factory that they used to make wetsuits in, and boards. And if you walk around the Tiki factory now in Braunton, which is the one down by Tesco's and back of Salt Rock, there's still resin all over the floors where the boards used to be made, and upstairs is the cutting tables where we used to make all the wetsuits. We've still got all of the old cuts and all of everything from back in the day when they used to do everything here in the UK. Of course, everything's made in the Far East now, so. Yeah, but it's the heritage is brilliant. A great company to work for, and we do some, we've got some good stuff now.
I mean, like I say, I'm not putting you on the spot, but I've had some branded wetsuits before, XLs, Billabongs, Rip Curls, all those sort of things, all the ones that are the head brands on the market. And I would probably say that Tiki wetsuits, I've had them since we met. Best wetsuits I've worn. Wearing now.
Good of you to say.
Even the three twos all the way through to the winter suits. You can't fault them. And I tell people this, and how good they are. I'm more, especially since having the concept of doing this podcast and supporting local businesses and wanting to talk to people in the industry, in the surfing industry especially, that's within the United Kingdom. Having a local establishment in North Devon like this that is so unique and is still going since those early days of surfing, especially in the UK, is bar none an amazing feat. And to be able to say that I wear wetsuits that are produced and have that branding and has that heritage as well. I mean, I know it sounds a little bit weird, but I think it's fantastic, and I think a lot of people should support that too.
I think it's really kind of you to say that. I mean, we work hard on the products that we do. I think that we make and we produce. I am a little bit biased, I guess, as a sales manager, but it's the product is brilliant. We do, we don't just have Tiki. We have Talk as well. We're a shareholder in Talk surfboards. We have loads of great products. I think Tiki's problem has always been the marketing. We've never really kind of marketed our stuff. We're a core surf brand. They've never really kept up with the times of the marketing and stuff. However, that doesn't detract from what we have as a product, and everybody that uses our stuff absolutely loves it. So it's really kind of you to say that. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, I've had Talk boards. I've got them from you.
You did?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. And they've been amazing. The suits, anybody that wants to buy a wetsuit and you need to support your local brands. I personally think, but I think that's just personal preference and a little bit of bias. I mean, obviously, knowing you and you work for Tiki Company as well.
Yeah.
is always a good thing anyway, because, you've got heads up on the industry and all that sort of thing. And
yeah, we talk a lot about product and stuff as well, and development and stuff. So you do have a bit more of an insight into it. I mean, look, there's a lot of on the market at the moment. There's loads of brands out there, and consumers have never had more choice. So it's great for surfers as a whole, because you can, there is so much out there. And it's really just finding something that works for you, and something that fits your budget, fits your body. And wetsuits are really personal things. We don't do like a massive range. We're all not like O'Neill, where they have lots of different colours and bright stuff, and like all the. We're quite. I guess we're more like a Need Essentials, or like the XL used to be. We just kind of stick to what we do, and we make a functional, warm, long-lasting suit. I think probably if I was going to compare the Tiki suits or the Zephyrs, the suits that I wear, the Zephyr is our top-end suit, full stretch and all the bells and whistles. I'd probably compare it to the early XL Infinity dry locks in terms of the winter suits, because they're the full weight, full thickness, full warmth, full longevity suit. They're not the lightweight kind of 543 that is going to start breaking down and have leaky seams after a few months of wearing it. So for me, I love that. It hasn't got all the flexibility of the super premium lightweight neoprenes, but I think the more you take out of neoprene, the less life the suit has in it.
Yeah. And
for us, I also like that, the eco side to that, where the suit is going to last for 2 or 3 seasons, and I don't want to go out and spend £300 on a wetsuit every winter.
Well, I recently had a winter suit from you. I had a 543 with the hood.
Yeah,
amazing. So hot in the winter. And
they're great.
I'm not just saying that, but I've still got a 543, which was the first wetsuit I probably bought, like back in, God knows now. It must have been 2011. Still got it. Still wear it. Still keeps me warm.
Yeah.
To an extent in the winter.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like how does that even happen?
Yeah. Hey, when all the surf instructors at the local beach are wearing your suits, it's that's kind of they want to.
You're onto a winner there, right?
Yeah. So no, it's good. It's really good. But yeah, I mean, look, if you haven't never tried one of our suits, give it a go and see what you think.
Yeah. Rocks, man. Rocks. Let's talk surf trips.
Oh, don't.
Wow. Okay, let's not talk surf trips, because you should be in Indo, and I should have.
You should be in Morocco.
I should have been in Morocco the week that we went into lockdown, which was absolutely emotionally crippling.
Almost more crippling than your computer not working earlier.
Yes and no. I could smash my computer. I can't smash lockdown.
No, you can't.
But I did. I knocked it out of the park.
There's been a lot of people listening to this, I imagine, that should be, or maybe should have gone on surf trips during lockdown, or had a trip planned for this year. And I think everyone's in the same boat at the moment. But hey, look, we've got great waves in our own country. It's a great time to go and explore your own country, because there are amazing waves all around our coastline, and not just here, Ireland. Go out and support local, go and surf local beaches, go and do a little bit of travelling around places you haven't been before, and keep it local.
Spoken like a sure professional.
No, truly, I believe that we have. I in my job I get to travel around the country, and I went to Ireland last week. I'm going back Thursday this week, and it's on our doorstep. And I don't want to talk too many people into going over there, because it's still really nice and quiet. But it's we've got great waves in the UK and Ireland. So if you can't go away, don't beat yourself up. Just jump in your car and go and surf somewhere where there's waves.
Yeah, definitely come to Croyd in the summer, because it's really quiet.
I got 2 motorbikes just for that reason. The traffic is horrendous in the summer.
I've got a hammer in my garage, and that's for another reason too.
Let's talk motorbikes.
Yeah, I know nothing about that. So you can, mate, you can talk about what you want on this.
No. We'll stick with surfing.
Okay, it's best surf trip.
Oh,
Memorable. Let's talk most memorable.
That is tricky because they change. So when I was traveling a lot, there was memorable for different reasons. You know, I didn't have any commitments. I didn't have a wife and kids or mortgage and all that stuff, and all the freedom of traveling around. But as I've got older and I've got a bit more money to spend, I think probably my most memorable surf trip, and this is not necessarily for the best waves, but because of the company, was with the Maldives, boat trip in the Maldives with a group of mates. I did a really fun trip to Nicaragua on a stag do, which was epic.
You showed me the video of that as well.
I did. I'm still in trouble for that.
Come on, spin the story.
Honestly, I can't because I'm still in trouble for it.
It was amazing. Do you want me to tell it?
You tell it.
From what I remember.
Just so you know, the guy who stag do I was on, they've now separated.
No, really?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter then now, does it?
It doesn't matter.
But it wasn't the precursor of that then,
No. Well, it may have been. I don't know. No, it wasn't. They were together for 9 years.
So what I remember you telling me was you were in the vehicle that was transitioning you from the airport to the place that you were staying, and whoever organised it,
me,
had organised some, let's use in fingers inverted commas, some banditos to pull the wagon over.
It probably wasn't my best idea ever.
However,
it was absolutely fucking brilliant. Okay, so basically what happened, in true stag groom tradition, I thought it would be really good to stitch my best mate up, who's one of Poles F locals, guy I've grown up with. So we decided to go to Nicaragua, which was for a week surf trip, as you do on a stag do. It seems to be like stag do's have just extended out from a day to 2 days to like a week now, especially for surfers. So we end up in Nicaragua, and I thought it'd be a really good idea just to do something to start the trip off, and I arranged an armed hold up for the guys that we were staying at the surf camp with, the Brazilian guys. So I asked them if they could hold up the minibus that was bringing us from the airport to the surf camp, which was about an hour drive. They dutifully obliged. So they held we turned up in Nicaragua, which by the way is a pretty, if you haven't been to Nicaragua, it's a pretty ropey, rough capital city. So you kind of instantly get that vibe that you need to lock your doors anyway. So we drive out and we turn out up to the coast, and everyone's like, the coast. Everyone knows the surf camps on the coast because we've seen pictures. Everyone's seen pictures of the surf camp, and there's a wave right out the front. Everyone's really excited. And the minibus driver takes a left turn away from the coast up this little dusty dirt track up the hill, up this hillside. Everyone's like, this is weird. We're not driving towards the coast. It can't be up here. As we come round the corner, the boys, as arranged, have parked 2 motorbikes across the road, and they all come out with their face masks on, and their caps are right down, and they've got, you can just see their eyes, and they're all waving machetes around, banging on the van. So it was like a full armed hold up, and Howie, the groom, absolutely shit himself. In my defence, I'd completely forgotten that when he lived in London, he got held up at knife point, genuinely held up at knife point. So, it didn't go down too well for him. But we found it hilarious. But his wife never forgave me. So that was the start of a really good surf trip, actually, because Nicaragua was amazing. The waves were brilliant, absolutely pumping surf, really quiet. Brilliant trip. So that was, I think, probably in terms of memorable surf trips, that was one of them. Maldives was also good because the Maldives is just a brilliant place to go and have fun waves with mates on a boat. You surf 3 times a day, you eat good meals, you surf, fun waves, warm water, dolphins, what's not to like.
Yeah,
So, but I've had great waves other places in the world, Indonesia and all other. But I think for memorable, that's those are kind of probably the best places.
Yeah, I think going with your friends and stuff is a little bit different to being an individual rocking up at places and surfing breaks that you wished and always wanted to surf, but because you haven't got anyone there to share that with, sometimes can be
a little bit. The magic's lost.
Yeah. I mean, it can be liberating, but it also can be like what you kind of turn around and go in. There's no one there.
Yeah, I kind of, as a surfer, you always dream of those sessions where you surf alone, but actually in reality, the when you do surf, there are times, of course, where you surf alone, where it's like, if you're somewhere comfortable that those times are precious. But in reality, if you're traveling and you're surfing alone, it can. And I travel around with my work, and quite often.
Hang on. Bloody computer! Another technical hitch there. It just stopped on us. What were we saying?
Surfing alone. I think we all would pine for surfing alone. But actually, it's I think one of the special things about surfing is being able to share it with someone. And I don't condone turning up at a surf spot in a minibus full of people. But if you and I are going to go surf somewhere, it's much more fun if you and I go and surf a reef down the coast than it is if I go and surf it on my own.
Yeah.
Because who's going to see you do your 360 air?
Exactly.
Huh?
Who's going to get you 20-second cover up?
Who's going to see you go vertical or do a cartwheel down the fucking down the face of a wave?
Because that always happens. Yeah, no, I get it. I've travelled on my own and I've been to some crazy places, and
I mean, you've definitely been to some crazy places in your job, not for surfing, but you've been to some crazy places.
Yeah, but that's a complete different comparison.
True.
To be fair. But I've also been to some crazy places on my own as well.
Yeah. Have you ever been into any war zone places with surf?
No.
No.
No, you can't get the clearance to do it with surf trips.
No.
They have to be to places that you get diplomatic clearance to go and do it.
Okay. So have you been to any bases where there's surf?
No, I haven't.
Oh.
We've tried to do some trips to like Camp Pendleton, where you've got Trestles is on the doorstep, and the southern western California coast.
Is there waves off the back of Pendleton that you can only surf if you can go through the camp?
Yeah, I mean,
because there's somewhere in Western Australia like that. I'm sure there's a place in Western Australia. There's a Navy base. There's an island. You go across a big jetty and really, really long car bridge, and it goes out, and then there's an island, and there's waves on the back of that. But of course, there's a base, so you can't access it.
Yeah, I think there are some breaks that are literally like straight off the back of camp, and you do get some guy. I've definitely read some stories where blokes have come down and soldiers have come down and told people you can't be here. Yeah, but I've never really been. The only place is really the furthest reaches the Royal Marines Royal Navy Surf Association has been is we've done some Maldives trips. Hawaii was another one. Yeah, but that was before my time.
Morocco coming up. What's supposed to be?
Yeah, Morocco. We've done Morocco, but they were normally just France, Portugal. Yeah, Hossegor. Biarritz or all them sort of places. Yeah. It's only been the last few years where we've kind of reached out a little bit more and gone a little bit elaborate. Yeah, especially with boat trips out in the Maldives.
Yeah, you did that Maldives. I remember you going on that trip.
Yeah, it was super good.
Yeah.
I've never been on a boat trip before.
It's good, isn't it? It's good fun.
Yeah, it was super cool. One of the guys brought some fishing rods with him, in the evening, just hanging out at the back of the boat with a couple of beers and stuff, and pulling up some massive snapper from the reefs and stuff, and that was our next day's dinner.
You see, I never had any fishing joy in the Maldives.
Oh, really?
At all. I stood on the back of that boat for hours, believe me. But
one night we had on the back of the boat that we were on, it had a massive spotlight on the back. And squid are attracted.
Yeah, we had the same. We had the manta rays come up as well to get the mantas.
Well, we had loads of squid.
Oh, did you?
And he was throwing out his lures, like some little top spinners.
Yeah.
And they were grabbing that, and we were just pulling all this squid in.
Oh, we had a shit captain then because we didn't get any of that.
Well, the boat we were supposed to go on was actually a surf charter boat, but that boat was owned by a diving company.
I think they're all dual, aren't they? Because there's the surf season and the dive season.
Yeah, maybe.
They do both. I think. Yeah.
But we ended up on this boat which was designed really, I think, for taking people diving, because the little skid that they used to take us out to the break with just had like all the diving holders in there instead of like the surfboard racks, which they probably transition to maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, the captain was super sound with us, and you know he in the evenings once we'd been surfing, he went to like the little bays and parked up, and he just parked up right next to like the reef edges as close as he could, and it was really cool. Like the guys were pulling out. You know,
it's a super cool place.
Yeah,
it's a shame because it's changing a little bit now. I think a lot of the islands that used to be accessible surf wise. So you know, obviously, you've got lowies which you can't surf the left-hander if you're not staying on the island.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a fair few more of those islands now which are being bought privately.
Yeah.
For stilted places and holidays and 5-star places, holiday resorts. So I actually think the number of surf spots over there is shrinking now. That you're allowed to surf unless you're staying on the island by boat. So a lot of the boats now have moved to the southern atolls.
Okay.
Which is a shame because it was always a great place to visit.
I think we were really lucky because when we went there, it wasn't too busy. We surfed all like the usual spots, you know, sort of like just outside of Marley where Sultan's is and
Cokes
and so Cokes was about maybe half a day's boat ride. The captain that we were in didn't really want to go too far, so I think Cokes and Chickens is up by Cokes, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was us.
Oh, you didn't surf up there? Where did you surf then? Further down towards Marley?
So where Marley was, we went to Sultan's, and what's the break that's the other side of that called? I can't remember. But yeah, we went. Cokes and Chickens was the furthest one up. We surfed Ninjas a couple of times as well, but there was hardly anybody out. I think we surfed Sultan's when it was about 4 or 5 foot one day.
Yeah.
There was a couple of Aussies out from the island where just outside where Sultan's is.
Yeah.
And that was it. We had a day at Chickens where
that's a rarity in the Maldives because it's normally super busy.
Yeah, I mean it was kind of strange, really. We surfed Chickens.
What time of year did you go?
Oh man, when was it?
Because their season's July, isn't it? June, July. I think it was super early in the season.
Yeah. No, it wasn't. It was late in the season, so it was like October time.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so
it's when they're just transitioning into dive.
Yeah, so it was like late in the season. I was a little bit dubious about it because I'd checked up on it and I was like, it's kind of nearly out of season. Is there going to be any swell? But we were super lucky.
Yeah.
But the thing is that the group that we went with was very mixed match. You had some guys that wanted to surf, some hardcore breaks like I did. I wanted to surf some, big reef breaks.
Challenging waves, yeah.
Maybe something a little bit more hollow if it was offering. I mean, the Maldives isn't really renowned for that anyway, but...
No.
But then we had people that...
But it is a good place to go. We had a mixed boat as well, so we had exactly the same as you. And there is that diversity there within a reef, the distance of a reef pass. There'd be a hollow wave right-hander here and then a mellow left-hander there, or even just at the end of the reef where it's kind of tapering around the island.
Yeah.
We had a couple of the guys on our boat were longboarders and they would sit right off the end of the reef and they didn't want to get up involved and go up on the main peak. So they'd sit off the end and catch a few of the little tail ones off the back of the reef.
I tell you, one of the longest waves I've ever ridden was at Chickens. And I was surfing one of my friends' 5'8" firewire sweet potatoes. So loads of volume, super short. It was in a quad setup as well.
Yeah.
I was sat on the main peak, and I'd catch it all the way to to sort of like the edge of the reef, but then it was swinging in and reforming again. So because it had loads of volume, I could keep loads of speed, and then I just caught the reform, and it then just turned back into sort of like the mid of the island.
Yeah.
And like I just pump, and then it reformed again. And I was riding it all the way into the middle of the island. It was amazing.
See, that I think that goes back to our conversation earlier about equipment and having the right equipment and the right volume for you. It's so important to. I mean, look, it doesn't have. It's not a fine art, but it's having a board that in the Maldives you definitely need a higher volume board. You don't need the same board that you would take to Indo.
It's quite fat. Like a lot of the brakes are quite fat, aren't they?
Yeah, one of a good friend of mine was there, and he had a sweet potato. No, it wasn't sweet. It was a baked potato, firewire baked potato, which is a really wide, fat, wide tail, loads of volume board. And he had the best time there because the waves aren't, they're not like Indo waves where it's a free fall takeoff and pull into a barrel with your arms out. You surfed in the Maldives. It's just a fun wave to surf, isn't it? So you definitely need the right equipment. I think a lot of people make the mistake of going away thinking they're going to be surfing a particular wave in their head, and it's quite easy to take away the wrong equipment.
Yeah.
If you don't do your research.
Yeah. I think if you expect to go to the Maldives and you're going to be surfing like 10, 12 feet super banks,
it does get good there. I mean, we had a couple of, the last time we were there, we had a really big swell. In fact, the swell was so big we had to travel north to south, to get rid of to kind of like go somewhere that's a little bit smaller.
Oh, really?
But even down south, it was absolutely firing, and it was barrels, and one of the guys that we were with almost took his eye out with the nose of his surfboard, got fast boated off to the hospital in Male, and it was a bit of a drama. But they do get really good waves there, but it is by and large they're just very, very surfable fun waves, aren't they?
Yeah, they're great, and the reefs aren't like super hard, and you're not going to bounce off in the live corals. So
no.
It's quite
forgiving.
Yeah, it is really forgiving. Yeah,
it's a great place for a holiday. I mean, it's expensive now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is a great place for a holiday. Let's talk board design, because I know that is up your street.
Well, it's been
right. You are techie about it.
Yeah,
we've had a lot of conversations about this. I work in the industry, and I'm not anywhere near as techie as you are about board design.
Yeah, well, I've been a little bit spotterish over the lockdown, and I was I've never really looked into bottom contours of boards, and I was looking at Dan Thompson cause obviously he's doing like firewires, the Slater designs, and he's been at it, having his own thing. He came out with the. Was it the Vader was one of the first ones that came out?
The Evo. He's done a whole plethora of really popular.
Yeah, so I went to the Bristol Wave, which is amazing, and there was a guy there that had an Evo, which kind of started it off. And I was looking at it, and this guy was like, like your height, 6 foot plus, and he's quite a big guy, but he was surfing like a little 5'10". It was like super. It didn't look super thick.
Yeah.
But then, like when you held it, and I asked him if I could have a look at it, and I turned it over, and it had these quad concave V in the bottom, and all these like funny things coming out of it. It was.
There's a lot going on the bottom of those boards, isn't there?
Absolutely crazy, right? So that just set my little mind going crazy, and I was like, oh my God, what is going on here? I've got to know what's going on. And I got onto YouTube and went onto the Firewire podcasts and listened to what he was saying, and he uses the modern planing hull.
Yeah.
And from what I gathered from him, he'd been shaping boards for years. And he went and looked at the aerodynamics of fighter planes and used the hydrodynamics from that to shape his boards. And that's when he came out. I think the Vader was the first one, which was kind of seen as like an aerial board when it really wasn't. It was still kind of, Tom Curran surfs it, has got a similar board, that he shaped, which if you look at the bottom of it, has got like a quad concave or a double concave in the bottom.
Yeah.
But there's little cutouts in the bottom. And what these do is it creates lift and foil. And Dan Thompson's boards from sort of like the front third, especially in the Evo.
Yeah.
In the Cymatic, which I bought eventually.
Oh, you did get one,
yeah. From the midsection through to the tail, has got a quad concave in it, and it creates a lot of lift. And
it's essentially, if you look at it with a ruler across it, it's essentially hollow through the back end.
But also, it's got, especially in the Cymatic, not so much of the Evo. I don't know about the Vader because I've not looked at that, but it's just got constant rocker. But when you put it on the floor, so the constant rocker goes from the nose through to the tail. But if you lie it on the floor, it just looks like it's flat with a little bit of nose rocker into it. So I got a little bit spotter into it, and I started looking into lots of different videos and reviews and stuff. And I was just like, this stuff has been out for 10, 15 years, and I was just thinking to myself, like, how do I not know about this?
Yeah.
Because I'm really into it, really, all about rails and rail design and fishes and what makes a fish surf different to what a square tail thruster does, or what a thruster with a fish, sort of like what a modern day fish where it's just sort of like a little V in the tail, as opposed to an old retro fish which has got lots of width in the back but like a twin fin. Like what makes that different? A longboard has got 50-50 rails, some of them, a lot of the classic longboards, from nose to tail, which makes them turn a lot better. But as soon as you dig the rail into it to try and create grip, it slides out a little bit more if you don't put, a couple of little side bite fins in the back, if they have it or not, And it just kind of made me think like loads about it. And when I looked into it, it just was really, really interesting.
It is super interesting. It is really interesting. All board design is, and there's so much out there as well now. To learn about, and that's not even looking into the fins.
That's just a complete.
Fins is like another world, another minefield. There's so much detail in fins, and I think a lot of people discount fins as just being a fin. But there is so many subtle differences in fins that make a bit difference. They do make a bit of difference, and they feel different.
I think they are, but also you have to be a little bit. You do have to have a little bit of ability as well to realise the difference in them.
Agreed. Yeah.
And I've started to look at fin design a little bit, but I really don't think I'm anywhere near that anyway. I think just looking at the shaping of boards and stuff is super interesting. And when I got that Cymatic, I always used to surf, over round tail or pintail boards, just because I'd always felt they held a little bit better than the square tail. I've had like DHs before, Mick Fanning models and all sort of that sort of thing. And they went well in good waves, but in like really shitty waves, classic British type style waves, they didn't really go too well. Again, look, I'm talking about my own ability rather than what a pro would be able to achieve on them. And then when I bought that Cymatic and I took it in for the first couple of times, I had it in the quad setup to start with, and I could not believe how fast it was. And I changed it into a thruster setup, which was released a little bit of speed into it, and it just holds. And that quad concave in the bottom is amazing. Don't get me wrong, they are quite expensive.
They are. They're really, really good shapes. I mean, they all of the Firewire range are brilliant. It depends if you like surfing PU boards or if you like surfing epoxy. Some people don't like epoxy.
And then you're going to a complete different
and then it's a whole different world. I mean, I've always surfed Firewires. I've had lots of different Firewires, and I absolutely love them. I think they're brilliant boards. I had a helium Firewire, and I found it too light, particularly for the UK conditions. If there's a bit of wind or a little bit of chop, it almost seems to get held up if you're taking off, you almost got to try and like drive it down the face as opposed to it wanting to go down the face. And great in perfect conditions, but not always brilliant if in UK conditions, like all UK conditions, particularly if there's a bit of wind. But I don't know what your take is on epoxy over PU, or if you feel you have a preference over either of those, or
I think,
or if you even notice a difference between epoxy and PU.
Yeah, I do. Epoxy's a little bit heavier, just because of the glassing and stuff on it. I mean, obviously, with your different shapes, and depends if you go to a surfboard shaper and get one shaped for you. You've got the different. You've got the different heaviness of the resin, where you put your knee or your foot or whatever. But the PU I find a little bit more buoyant. I think if you don't get in the water a great deal, like I don't, I'm far and few between. I follow the swell when it comes in, as opposed to just getting in because I can. I live a couple of miles down the road. I just don't have that feasibility. It also helps with the paddleability of the board as well. If it's got that little bit more corkiness in it, because it feels more buoyant, you're going to get into stuff a little bit more, which is what we're talking about and joking about at the start about, volume is your friend.
Yeah.
Having that also really does help. But also, talking about, the cymatics, the Evos, where Tomo's took the nose off it, so the pivot point is a lot shallower than it would be like on a longboard where it's like pointier. He made a good point actually, talking about points. He said, why would a surfboard be shaped like a point when it's designed to go over something instead of through it? Which, when I thought about it, was, well, why do surfboards have this rocker but then it's like pointed at the end? It doesn't really make any sense.
No, but it looks fucking cool.
It does, until you poke someone's eye out with it. Do you remember those old diamond things that you
just
used to buy
going back
to
our Maldives trip?
Yeah. So when you look at like the cymatics, the Evos, and now you've got the Hydro Short, what's the other one? Hydronaut.
They all have in common that hydro hull bottom, which makes them feel, and not just feel, but they do absolutely fly.
Yeah, I mean, if
so it's interesting that you say that you find PU more corky, because I feel epoxy more corky.
Do you?
Yeah, I 100% think epoxy boards are more corky. And actually, for me, a PU board, I actually feel like a PU board engages with the wave a bit better. The rail engages with the wave. I feel like it's it just feels, for me, it feels nicer. I still ride epoxy boards, and all the talk boards are epoxy, and I've got a quiver of talk boards, and I love surfing all of them for different reasons. But I still enjoy. I've got Luke Young. I'm good friends with Luke Young, and I ride his boards as well. And I've got some of his boards at all PU, brilliant. In fact, one of my favourite board is one of Luke's boards. It's twin fin.
Yeah, it's out the back.
In fact, I've got two of them.
Yeah,
so the newest one I've got, well, it's not even new now. I need to go and see him for another one. But I've got a really, really old one, which I absolutely loved, which is now just it's been put to pasture. It's still surfable, and I surfed it at Lynmouth a while ago, but it's pretty much dead. And then he shaped another one for me off that template with channels, a little bit more modern version of it. And that has been by far and away one of my favourite boards. And I now need to go and see him for another one. So Luke, if you're listening, I'm coming to see you.
I'm coming to see him sometime soon. Anyway, so he's nicely said that he'll come onto the podcast and talk shape with me.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, talking about Luke Young, because I'm down in Plymouth, I've got a Jed Knoll retro twin fin.
Yeah.
And one of the people that I worked with decided to put a volleyball stand, a really heavy one, into the back of a van, which had my 20 in. And
epic.
It went straight through it. Yeah, brilliant. I'd also busted the...
If that happened to your firewire, you'd be in a load of trouble.
He'd be 6 foot under. Yeah, we're not talking about that. Yeah, and also I've had it for over 10 years.
Yeah.
I bought what was the was it Revolution was the surf shop down in Newquay. It was
I don't remember Revolution. There was a Revolution skate park in Kent.
No,
I don't remember.
It was like an old retro shop, and it was just a little bit further. So you remember where North Shore, the shop is in Newquay?
Yeah.
Do you remember? It was opposite. Was it Belushi's? So,
if you talk to me about nightclubs and pubs, I'll probably be able to tell you what it was.
If I don't know why I'm pointing because no one can see it. If you head towards...
And we're in Croyd, not Newquay.
So, yeah, exactly. So if you head towards, from the centre of Newquay towards the ship, which is down sort of the Fistral Cribber end.
Yeah, towards the Red Line.
Yeah, the Red Line, sorry.
Yeah.
On the left-hand side of the road, there was a shop there called Revolution. I bought a Jednall 20 from there.
Yeah.
Anyway, long story short, I took it to Luke because the tail needed tweaking up. I'd smashed the tail off both the fish ends off a bit, and it had that hole in. I said, "Can you fix it?" He said, "Yeah." He did it for me, and then went back and had a chat with him. He basically said, "When did you buy this?" And I said, I bought this probably about 10, 12, 13 years ago. And he said, "I was working in San Diego at the time, and I probably glassed this." And I was like, "No way!" It's like. I was a little bit taken aback by it because it's super coincidental, really.
Yeah.
You know?
Now, I like going back. Like Luke and I go back a long way, and I remember when he got into shaping boards, like way back in the day, and I'm super proud of him because he is knocking out some phenomenal boards now, like really good boards. So I'm stoked for him because he's done really well. I can't wait to go and get another one. He's got some great models now, really good models.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear some stories from him about his days over in California shaping and stuff, glassing and learning to do that.
He went through the whole process. He's worked with some phenomenal shapers. He's got a great heritage, and he's got some. He's learned from the best. So he's done really well. And he's doing really good business now. And all the boys down on the south coast, and I see so many people surfing his boards, not just here when I'm travelling, So it's good, and it's also really good to support local. I work in an industry where we have boards coming over from the Far East, and and that's a big part of the market. But I think it's super important to support local, and those guys are they put in a lot of work to shape what is essentially a piece of art, and every single board that they pump out has got their heart and soul in it. That's what they do. That's their passion, and they take the time to sit down, talk to you, find out what you want. Every shaper's got a little bit of their own artistic license, which is absolutely fine. And you're never always going to get a brilliant board. Not a brilliant board, but you're not always going to get like the board that like the one board, you're like, oh, that was my best board, because you just go through surfboards. That's just part of surfing.
Yeah.
You ride boards, but you've got to give them a chance to settle in and bed in. You're never going to get up on the board on the first wave and go, that's going to be my favourite board ever, because that just doesn't happen, or very rarely. But those guys will take the time to sit down with you, talk to you, listen to you, find out what you want, find out what you've been surfing in the past, find out where you surf. Look at you as a person, what you weigh, and figure out kind of roughly where you're at with your surfing, and try and make something that works really well for you. So, and it's really good.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting talking to him, I think. I don't really have that much exposure to people that shape boards. One of my friends used to dabble in shaping. He made a couple of boards and stuff. He made my dad a 10-foot longboard, and it weighs an absolute ton, and it turns like an absolute barge, but it looks amazing.
Oh, perfect. That's fine. As long as it looks good on the roof.
Nice red tint, and it's got the family crest on it as well, which is
brilliant.
Which is pretty cool. I got it shaped for him for his birthday.
Nice.
But yeah,
that's a cool thing to do.
Yeah, he loves it.
Yeah,
but he's like, pushing mid-60s now, and
Does he still get in much or not?
every now and again. I bought him. Do you know what? I actually bought him a gift certificate for the wave in Bristol. So as it's just opening, I'm trying to sort out a time to go up there with him.
Nice.
Obviously, put him in the expert setting straight away.
I'm actually really looking forward to trying that myself. It looks, yeah. I want to get back up there.
Yeah, like I say, I was booked in to go on the Advanced Plus because I wanted to do that one and then see what the next level up. Because I saw.
So they've only got. Hang on. So what are the levels now? They've got Advanced Plus. They've got the normal.
So they've got beginner, intermediate.
Yeah. So the beginner, so on the actual the main wave.
Yeah.
The settings they have on that.
So they've got just the normal Advanced wave.
Advanced, yeah.
And then they've got Advanced Plus, which is then cranked up, and then the top one that you can do is Expert.
Okay, so they have those three now,
so
do they?
Three, yeah. So Expert is
Expert's like dry. Is pretty much taken off.
Yeah. So the best thing to do is I watched Lee Bartlett and Paul
Barakat.
Mm-hmm. They did the surfing show, and they went up to the wave, and they did the Advanced Plus, and the Expert, and
they got that. They got footage of that then.
Yeah, it's all on YouTube.
The Expert as well?
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
Okay, cool.
And they do a comparison of it as well. So the barrel size is different.
Yeah.
You know, and apparently...
How's the Expert look?
It looks pretty sick. Yeah, it's
makeable.
I
actually found that, I've surfed both Bristol Wave and Surf Snowdonia.
Yeah.
Both really, really fun and great places to go and surf. I found the. Have you surfed up at Snowdonia?
I haven't, but you told me about it.
Yeah, it's different to the wave, and I think the wave is easier. The Bristol Wave is easier to surf, into taking off, and like as an easier wave to kind of figure out quite quickly. Snowdonia takes a few more waves. Like you just kind of takes 3 or 4 waves to get your head around paddling into it and how it works and stuff.
It looks to me that Surf Snowdonia's wave is more speed orientated.
I found Surf Snowdonia more surfable.
Did you?
As a wave, as in like you can, top to bottom, like.
So what I took away from when they went and did it, because they did it with Jenny Jones was there as well.
Yeah.
And trying to get on here as well.
Yeah.
Trying to get everyone on this podcast that I can.
You're such a podcast whore.
Yeah. I'm just going to name drop everybody that I can. I'm going to hashtag the shit out of it too. Yeah, from what I gathered, the step up from the Advanced to the Advanced Plus, the wall of the wave is a lot bigger, and there's more face of it, which are kind of, when you sit there and you're looking at it, because the height of the size of the facility doesn't change.
Yeah.
But obviously the shallowness of the wave that the bottom contours,
it draws off the bottom,
what creates it. So the amount of pulse that's created to push that wave up is obviously.
Well, it's a much quicker takeoff, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you're up. You've got to be much snappier when you get up on it.
Yeah. What I found was the closer you are to the wall, the steeper the takeoff.
Yeah.
So you mean?
Well, I've only surfed it on the advanced setting, and I actually found that the takeoff is easy. Then you go through that first the takeoff section, and then you need to do a little check turn.
Yeah, it's a little flat, yeah.
Tiny little check turn, and then you wind it up for that inside section,
which does barrel.
It does, but it's quite it's not like, whereas if Snowdonia is kind of like walling all the way through. I think probably on the higher settings at the wave, up in Bristol, it will be much, much better. But of course, when I was surfing there, just after it opened, that option wasn't available. So
yeah,
I'm really glad that they're moving into that phase of settings now, because I think for the larger surfing community, I know the guys. I know Nick Reese up there, and I know that they copped a fair bit of flack on social media about people going up with higher expectations, and surfing it and thinking, oh, this is rubbish, and I've just paid 40 quid for it. But actually, there was always going to be that period where they needed you to settle into the business.
Yeah.
You know, you can't open a business like a wave like that that is that breaking on concrete and just stick it on the highest setting and go, there you go, everyone can dig in, because all they're going to do is end up with. I mean, their insurance companies are barking at them all the time. They're afraid of spinals and you know, like, so as a business, you need to be hyper aware of that. And I think they've really done the right thing by, although it went against them in social media, because there's loads of backlash about it being rubbish and like, why put a video out with the pros surfing the big waves and then when you open it up, it's not very good. Well, they had to do that, so I completely get it, and I think this process is good. Now they're moving into that stage where actual guys that surf better can go and surf it is good for the business, you know, and good for us as well.
And what I think is even better with it is when they initially first opened the advanced settings, because I had an eye on it over social media too, was that they initially put the price costing of it up quite high. It was like 95 quid for a session. And loads of people are like, there's no way I'm travelling that far for an hour session to pay 95 quid for that. You know, that's I could pay 95 quid from London and drive to Cornwall or North Devon. And, you know, that's my petrol money there and back.
Yeah, it's a fair shout.
But they actually listened.
Yeah, they did.
And then they brought that costing down.
Because it's run by surfers as well, don't forget. They're not corporate suits in there that running it. The guys that are running it are surfers themselves, and they want to surf and they want to share that stoke of surfing.
I think what they did as well, I'm not sure if that's
Nick would be a good person to speak to, actually, if you get a chance at the wave,
I think what they did as well with that is they put a like a precursor setting for it. So if you wanted to surf the Advanced Plus, I'm not sure if this is the case now or not, but you went down and you did a couple of sessions or a session to say that you were competent enough to move on to the next one. Do you know what I mean? I'm not sure whether they're doing that now or not.
They did talk about doing a where you just have to go and do a few tick boxes that you can take off. Yeah, you can go down the line.
But I think what if they go along the lines of, and I think what they're doing now is like you do with the Advanced Plus, and I've been with people in the water there where they get 3 strikes. Yeah. So if they can't take off on a wave, or because it's a big system, isn't it? There's 13 sets per hour, 14 sets per hour, and then within that set, there's 20 waves per set. Yeah. And you're all sat and lined up. If you've got 20 people waiting for that, and one person fucks it up, that's a set gone, and somebody's dipped out.
Well, it's definitely a wave gone. It's not a set gone, but especially if that person flounders in the impact zone for a bit, grabbing their board, and then 2 waves have gone. Yeah,
or even if misses it. So you know, I've been there with people, and they've gone, do you know what? Just jump out. We'll give you a credit note for it, and then you can come back and have a go on the intermediate setting. You know, and get on with that. Yeah. Which I think
that'll work, and then I don't know if they'll lower the group sizes, so it's not 14 people. I guess from a commercial standpoint, they'd need to keep the maximum numbers in there.
Yeah, I mean the settings change with the levels that they put it out on, don't they? Because you don't have an intermediate session out within an advanced session because one, they're not going to get a wave.
No, but I mean as in the numbers in the group. So there's however many people. There's normally is there 13, 14 people in the group? Is that I can't remember how they run it.
I mean, you can't whack 20 people out because there's always going to be one person that dips out on in the set. So I think it's either 12. Yeah. I don't know.
Man, the last time I was there, I was in a winter suit, boots. It was absolutely freezing. It would be really nice to go and surf it with the summer suit.
Mate, I went there 10 o'clock in the morning, first session, 3 of us on the left. That was it. I caught 19 waves on the first. I
tell you what really surprised me about it. It was absolutely knackering. I'm pretty comfortable paddling around up and down the beach. In fact, I'm known for being all over the place everywhere. Yep. Man, the Bristol wave was another level. It was because you're constantly going. You're literally like non-stop. Yeah. You catch a wave, out, catch a wave. You know, it's like you get 2 waves in a set. If you get your first one taken off and get back out, and you can keep going. I mean, it's bloody brutal.
That's how I was knocking them out.
Yeah.
I just got to a point where I was absolutely shattered. But that same session, I decided that I was going to, they used to do a thing there where you had your first session for whatever the concession price was like 42 quid, but then your next session was like 30.
Yeah.
So I had an hour off and went back out again. Mate, I couldn't move my arms.
Then you got to walk back to the car.
Yeah.
Carrying all your shit.
Yeah, I wish they just had a catapult and you could just catapult me.
It's crazy actually talking about the wave and both the waves, like Snowdonia and Bristol, because when I was growing up surfing, I wouldn't have even dreamed that we'd be where we are now, having an artificial wave on our doorstep, like access to it. And then of course, as soon as you've got it, everyone, there's all kinds of like feedback and stuff on it, but it's brilliant. I think it's great for the industry that we've got those things, and it's great for us in the southwest that we've got it on our doorstep.
There's one been confirmed to be built in Birmingham as well.
Is there? Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. Well, the great thing about, look, more people should go and surf Snowdonia as well. I think because it's in a beautiful part of the country. There's great waves around Wales as well. There's amazing mountain bike facilities like parks and Bike Park Wales, and
it's right in the centre of Snowdonia.
I mean, you could make a whole weekend of that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely phenomenal, and I think my worry is that obviously North Wales is a lot further away, and Bristol Wave has maybe taken a bit of, I don't know if it's taken any business away from them, but it's I think they should both be visited and used as much as each other.
You talk about business sense and all that. I was talking to Glenn Harris, who owns Surfed Out in Braunton.
Oh yeah.
And he was saying he was a little bit sceptical about it opening, because obviously where the Bristol Wave is, it's like on the M4 corridor, so you got people coming in from London, from Wales, from up north. It's right on that junction. And he was saying about might detract the business that would come to like North Devon. I don't see that happening.
No, I don't think so at all. I think it's look, we're always going to be busy down here. I can't. This is we're in a great part of the country that people love visiting. So I just think it's a novelty place to go for surfers, and it's like going to surf the bore.
Yeah.
It's not something you're going to do all to seven bore. Yeah, it's not something everyone should do it once, because it's just a brilliant thing to do, and it's a novelty, and it's something that you should tick off your surfing, your done list.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of those things. Another thing that I've done, I've only done it once, but man, what a laugh that was.
Yeah, do you know what? I haven't done that, and I haven't done that yet. And
I tell you what's brilliant about it is not actually the surfing; it's the wacky races in between catching the waves, because where it winds up the Severn, you can actually jump out and jump in 3 or 4 times before the wave dissipates and gets to the end of the river. So the fun part is the bit between catching the wave and then riding it back, because you paddle up the river to where you want to meet the wave, and then you kind of almost surf back to where you got in, where your car is.
Right.
And then you jump out, and the river's in full flow at this time, so you're literally hanging on to trees, and your board's fucking off on its leash, and it's chaos. And then you grab everything, run up to your car, jump in the car. Everyone like wacky races off to the next point of the river where you jump in and paddle up. Then the wave comes around the corner, and you do the same again. It's just, the whole thing is it's completely foreign, but absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, it's something I've always wanted to do it.
There's a lot of people do it now.
And I have looked into it, and
we should go and do it sometime.
Yeah, it'd be cool, man.
It's fucking brilliant.
I've read a couple of books. There's a couple of videos of it on Red Bull TV, I think.
Yeah, I tell you, Phil Williams. Have you know Phil Williams?
Right. Okay.
He's Christian Surfers guy. Okay. Really nice guy. He is one of the. I think they've got a boar riders club. They definitely got a boar rider.
Okay, yeah, it does ring a bell.
So he's a member of that. So okay. Yeah, so he'd be a good person to chat to you about it. But they have a boar calendar, so you can go and you can check out the boar calendar any spring tide. You can go and do it. It's a great thing to do.
Yeah,
it's like visiting the Super Bowl.
just like it, with crowds along
Or
the
the
side.
thatch.
Yeah. or the thatch. Mate, we've been talking for an hour and a half now.
Okay. We could go all night.
We could go all night, you're right.
Maybe one time we will go all night.
Yeah, if I wasn't so energy-ridden from trying to get this stupid computer to work at the start. Yeah.
Well, look, it's been a pleasure, mate. Thank you for asking me to have a chat. I hope we've kept everyone entertained and we've ticked a few boxes for a few people.
Yeah. Hey, first surfing podcast.
There's many more to come.
There was, mate, yeah. Stu Poynter, thanks for coming on.
Adam Lyson, thanks for having me.
Cheers, dude.
Cheers, mate.
And that's it. If you enjoyed the podcast, please like and share, and also leave any feedback on your podcast provider. Thanks for listening.